Today's very Apple shenanigans are brought to you by Squarespace. But more on that in a bit. The venerable Apple II line of computers was Apple's bread and butter for nearly 16 years. Apple butter. And there's a ton of modern upgrades, mods, and accessories made for that big ol' original Apple II and Apple IIe. But today, we're talking about a brand new upgrade for the often overlooked but endlessly adorable Apple IIc. With a brand new mechanical keyboard replacement that somehow integrates controllable backlighting. And today, we're going to check out both versions, install them in my own Apple IIc, and get some color in the old Snow White. So stay tuned. And if you enjoy hastily prepared puns about 1980s computer design language, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. So I've always really loved the Apple IIc, even though I never had access to one as a kid. Just the look of it, it's adorable. While the original Apple II looked like something from the 70s, because it was, the 1984 IIc was sleek, friendly, and, dare I say, optimistic. It was the start of the Snow White design language, which would carry Apple and Macintosh design through the rest of the 80s and into 1990. And it's just a great Apple II experience today. It has a disk drive built right into the side of it, a plethora of ports on the back, and it has a frickin' handle. So I'm really happy that my friends Museum Joe, Javier Havmeister, and the fine folks at MacEffects decided to show this thing some love. So without further waffling, let's start with a generic YouTube unboxing, because I haven't actually opened these yet and I just got them yesterday. I'm not what you would call prepared. Right after this word about today's sponsor, Squarespace. Create a fast, beautiful, and rich web experience for your business or brand using Squarespace's powerful all-in-one platform. It's really easy to get started. Like, say I wanted to build a website all about my love for the underloved Apple IIc. I could build it in minutes with Squarespace's new next-generation Fluid engine, which features powerful drag-and-drop technology and enables you to customize every detail of your customer's experience on desktop and mobile. That's on top of optimizing for SEO, managing a mailing list, watching analytics, and much more. So check out squarespace.com/actionretro today for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use code ActionRetro to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So, like many retro projects like this one started as a Kickstarter, which was not only successfully funded, but basically doubled its goal. And originally there were supposed to be 3 models of this, and I backed it for all 3. But there was an issue with the black version of the keycaps, and that one is delayed. I was refunded for it without even having to ask, so I hope they make it in the future. But for now, we have gray and, well, the coolest one, which is clear and kind of the flagship one. So let's open up both of these, take a look at the keyboards and what comes inside, and we'll talk a little bit about who designed what inside of here as we go. So here is the clear. Whoa! Oh my god, it's beautiful. Holy cow. Look at this. Oh, it's so clicky. Can you hear that? MacEffects, of course, producing this, but the project concept was by your friend and mine, Javier Rivera of RetroBrite fame and 8-Bit Tees. The PCB design here was from Joe Stroh-Snyder, that is Museum Joe, who has well, both of them have very fine YouTube channels, and coding for the microcontroller by Plamen Veselov, I'm sorry if I butchered that, who is of A2 Heaven fame. And yeah, just take a look at this. It is beautiful. These clear keys look absolutely gorgeous. And of course, this has that controllable backlight. Now, if you're familiar with the Apple IIc keyboard, you might notice something interesting. Here is the keyboard cable with the connector for the keyboard. But here is the cable that does not exist on the original Apple IIc keyboard. If you can guess what this cable does, let me know in the comments below. But we'll get more into this later because there is some literal magic happening right here. All right, here is the gray keyboard. And, oh, it's exactly what I was hoping. Ooh. Okay, so yeah, I know for a lot of people this is probably not as exciting as this fancy clear one, but hear me out for a second, because I really like the look of the original Apple IIc with this keyboard, and this is going to preserve that look much more, and it'll be kind of a sleeper, right? So it'll look stock until you turn it on and you see, I think, the light just snaking through the spaces in between the keys, as opposed to this, which is kind of an all-out visual modification. Okay, so before we actually do the install, let's do a bit of a clicky-clacky test with the original keyboard versus the brand new ones. Alright, well, according to my very scientific test, this Mac Effects keyboard is much clicky-clackier than even the clickiest of the original IIc keyboard. Alright, so once you get the cover off, the keyboard is just kind of laying in here because the case screws are what hold it in place. There's two little kind of tabs here going into the disk drive housing. But yeah, let's take a look at these key switches here. So there were two versions of the original Apple IIc keyboard. This is the later revision, which actually has Alps key switches, and you can also verify that on the back here. The part starts with Alps printed on the top of the PCB here. And these are pretty good. This is a fairly clicky keyboard. I mean, there's 30 years of Dorito gunk on there, but otherwise, this is the good original keyboard. Yeah, and here's the original keyboard from the other machine. This is the keyboard actually built by Apple using their own proprietary Mushi key switches. Yeah, you can definitely hear the difference with them out. Good Alp switches, crappy switches. All right, so let's install the clear keyboard first. And yeah, I hope you put your guess in the comments about what you thought this weird cable's for, because we're about to find out. Oh yeah, that fits in there nice. I love this powder-coated metal, just like the original. Nice and sturdy, but yeah, look at this. This is actually a replacement for this cable. And yeah, that's where the power comes from. So it's like a pass-through for the data and just sneaks that power off. And yeah, I don't actually know if maybe it does some other stuff, like maybe this is how you talk to the keyboard controller. We'll have to look at the instructions, but for now, look at that. Okay, so I have everything plugged back in, and I have the instructions out, which, trust me, is a bit of a rarity for me. And there's actually some fun stuff in here. So there are a bunch of controls. So the first section here is usage instructions for direct keyboard control. We could turn the backlight on and off by holding control, then tapping the 80/40 button. Cycle the brightness 10 levels. There's a control and then tap keyboard. Change the backlight to one of the preset colors. Hold control and tap caps lock. And then at the bottom here, for a special treat, hold control and 80/40 while turning on the computer. And then there is a second page with even more cool stuff that we can do. But let's start with some of these built-in fun features. So the backlight does start on, and oh, look at that. The power LED is now red instead of green. Nice. Okay, so let's see if we could turn the brightness level up. So control and then keyboard. Oh yeah, look at that. That gets quite bright. Okay, so that's level 10. To turn it on and off, control and then the 80/40 button, and it does come back to the last set brightness. To change the backlight to one of the preset colors, hold control and type caps lock here in the corner. Ooh, pretty. And then it says, for a special treat, hold control and 80/40 while turning on the computer. So let's give that a shot. Control 80/40. Whoa, look at that. It looks awesome in person. I mean, I hope it's coming across on camera like it is in person. It is just so freaking cool. And the shape of these keycaps makes the light kind of change as you move the computer around and look at it from different angles. It kind of lights up different parts of these clear keycaps. That is just awesome. Look at that. But there is even more that we can do. In fact, there's a whole page 2 here. And there is an LED control panel. Using the floppy emu here, I made a copy of the disk with the control utility on it, and we shall now attempt to boot from it. And what we're really interested in here is the keycolor.bin. We have change configuration, remove any disk from drive, all right. Oh, neat. But check it out, this actually changes the colors of these LEDs here. Look at that, purple and blue. I freaking love it. We have some other stuff in here, change preset color. And when you cycle through these, it also cycles the color on the keyboard. So that's pretty cool. We have an option here called testing LED. Wonder what that does. Oh, okay, just test these things. Reading mode, writing mode, standby mode. So the same things that we cycled through before. All right, so I'll go ahead and save config. Am I sure? I sure am. All right, out with the clear. And in with what I believe will be the permanent fixture in this particular 2C. All right, folded that in there nicely. Looks pretty good. Oh, look at that. This looks even better than I thought it would. Because honestly, I was a little concerned because there is a slight difference between the gray of this keyboard and the gray of this original keyboard, but the color of these keycaps is still darker than the original color of this case, which hopefully it will be again after I retro bright it. It looks awesome. Oh, this is exactly what I was hoping for. And again, I really hope it comes across in the video, because in person, this looks awesome. Just a subtle glow coming from between the keys. And when you press down on a key, you can see the color a little bit more. Look at that. How freaking cool is that? Okay, let's play with the presets a little bit. Oh yeah, I love that purple. Actually, I think the blue the most here. Control and 80/40. Oh, look how cool that looks. I really hope it's coming across on a video like it is for me in person, because it just looks so freaking cool. Like, you just don't expect to see the color seeping through from betwixt the keys here. It just looks great. Keycolor.bin. Man, this keyboard feels so nice to type on. We'll go to change configuration. Oh yeah, remove the disk. And I liked blue and purple for the status LEDs the best. All right, this is just absolutely wonderful. The look of this, I mean, it's so subtle that it's hard to see, I think, in the camera, unless you move it around just right. But in person, there's just this glow coming from beneath the keys that is so freaking cool. Okay, so the big question. Would I recommend you go out and buy this for your Apple IIc? Well, they are awfully expensive. I think I paid $200 a piece for these on the Kickstarter. And if you're just looking to have fun with your Apple IIc, your original keyboard probably works just fine, and if it doesn't, it's probably an easy fix. That said, if you're trying to build the ultimate Apple IIc, this is a necessity because it's beautiful. It's just so cool that the Apple IIc is finally getting the attention it deserves in the aftermarket mod community. So I'll link to the MacFX page for these things down below. I don't think they're available for sale yet. They've only just shipped out these to backers of the Kickstarter. In any event, that'll do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more shenanigans like this, please subscribe down below. And thank you very much for watching. And a special thanks to Alex Hoffman, Andrew Nicholson, April White, Camila Noseda, Chris Allegretta, Chris Biggs, Chris Calderon, Chris Nelson, Control-Alt-Reese, Daniel Hubbard, Frodo Jedi, Gaspar Heller, George Rosansky, Greg Rutke from Rutke Mods, Harris Brody, James Fryman, James Laurie, Jason Pepas, Jason Ezel, Justin Reed, Lyle Truid, Matthew Kroll, Paul Spencer, Ryan, Scott Cedarbaum, Scott Thompson, Sutek, Tom Woodfin, and Unknown Soldier 41, who are my highest tiered patrons and all of my Patreon supporters for helping to make these videos possible.